Okay, boys and girls. I don't actually know what my demographic is on this channel. I think it's mainly boys and men. I don't judge. You can do whatever you want. Welcome back. It's another episode of Long Transaction Podcast. Extra Long Transaction Podcast, the Wiener Boy Podcast. The podcast. I was debating whether or not to do this, although it was a short debate. Because you might be able to tell by my voice, I'm getting a little bit sick. But we've done this for 2 months. 8 episodes already. And that's pretty good. I have to try not to sneeze this whole podcast. But usually I have a tendency to kind of just stop series whenever they don't see immediate success, which is a bad habit, but it's just how I do it. And I wouldn't say this has been a failure of a series, and it's actually my favorite thing to record at the moment. But it's not like it's had huge numbers. But I really enjoy doing it. And whenever I have these, you know what these should be called? The therapy sessions, because they're just kind of ways for me to brainstorm ideas without just having an idea in my head for like 3 seconds and then it just vanishes. I actually verbalize it and it makes it better. But yeah, dude, oh my gosh, guys. Thank you for watching these. I really appreciate it. Means a lot. Means a lot when you guys leave these comments. I'm really excited because we have like 5 questions. That's a lot. 5 questions. I also have a story, and I'm sick. But I also put these up. These are the soundproofing things, and now it looks like a professional setup. I'm right in the middle of green on this side and black on this side. And to be honest, it looks a lot better on camera than it does looking up close, because these have like lines in the middle. I don't know if you can see those. And then these like are not all pushed together evenly. I actually nailed these into the wall because they kept falling off. I think it's a little bit too humid down here. Luckily, this is my parents' basement. So hopefully they don't find out. Getting into the story. Well, actually, before I get to that, I always mention how I have these series ideas that I never really follow through with. Like I mentioned, I wanted to do a series where I show my improvement with playing football. And like that keeps popping in my head. I want to show a video series because I like seeing transformations over time. And what I'm interested in is getting into better shape, specifically football shape, because I've never been in football shape, and I would just think it'd be cool to see the progression in skill, to see how good I actually can become at soccer. Only problem is it's really difficult to record by yourself. And I don't know what it is. I'm just like a perfectionist. And if something doesn't go exactly how I have it in my mind, I just kind of scrap it. And I'm like, no, it's not good enough. The world cannot see this, which is not a good way to be on the internet with YouTube, because you just have to sometimes throw stuff out the window. That's not an expression. I'm just making that up. You got to just throw it and see if it sticks. Maybe it would stick. Who knows? Don't you hate when you feel like you're getting sick? I this morning I woke up and I was not getting sick. At 10 a.m. I was watching the Russia-Spain game, and I was like, I think I'm getting sick. Then I went to a Mexican restaurant, and it took 45 minutes for my food to get there, and I was like, yeah, I'm getting sick. And then I played Fortnite, and then I was like, wow, I'm sick. And I have a nose hurt. My nose hurts. And what I need to do is I need to just get a bunch of spicy curry. I need to eat something super spicy to just burn all the bacteria in my face. And I like Indian food too. Oh, I should have done that earlier. My story, I'm kind of loopy. I wonder if these cough drops have stuff in them. The High Wiener Boy podcast, presented by Ricola. I went to Guitar Center yesterday. If you guys don't know what Guitar Center is, it's a place where you buy music instruments. And if you guys didn't know, I play guitar. I actually have my guitar is right here. I bought this online. I bought it off Craigslist a while ago. It's an Ibanez Art Core electric guitar. It's pretty good. That doesn't really give you an idea of what it sounds like. But it's a good guitar. I like it. But my favorite guitarist is John Mayer. And jeez, man, why did I do this? John Mayer plays a Fender Strat mainly. So I wanted to buy one of those. And I also wanted to buy some amps because I don't actually have a big amplifier. I have this one little amplifier that kind of sucks. Because I always play electric guitar stuff through Logic Pro. They have a ton of electronic amps and electronic pedals. But I wanted to see if it was actually better in person. And so I went to guitar. I was gonna buy one online, but I went to Guitar Center because I'm like, I might as well just see if it's good. See if I like it. And I was looking up guitars, and I was almost ready to dish out like $400 for it, or like $300. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. It's gonna make a huge difference. So then I went to Guitar Center with my sister, and I was really excited because I'm like, I'm gonna get something. I might look at some pedals. I might see like a cheap pedal for $20, and it might be really cool. Because I like to play really simple. I don't like the whole rock kind of style. I just like blues or jazz and pretty clean entrance into the amp. I don't need a whole lot of effects or pedals and stuff like that. And I do that because I just tend to like things when they're more natural, and I also don't like to spend a ton of money on stuff. But I was ready to. I was primed and ready with a lot of cash in my debit card. And then we get there, and I walk in, and I'm like really excited. And I just see a ton of guys sitting at the back playing at the amps, and I immediately got intimidated. Because even though I'm not bad at guitar, but I'm not a shredder man, and I can't just play these crazy licks, you know? So I also don't hang around guitar shops that much. So guitar people kind of intimidate me. But anyway, I went back there, and I'm looking at the guitars, and these guys are like, they're playing super loud, and they're just almost obnoxious or like annoying. They're playing really loud, and they're like laughing, and they're being just loud in general. And I look, and they're actually employees of Guitar Center. And I'm like, well, what the heck? Aren't you guys supposed to be working? You just play guitar while you're at work? And I mean, I wasn't really making it like I want to play, but I'm looking at the guitars. I kind of want to plug them into the amps to try them out, but there are two Guitar Center employees just like sitting there playing. I don't want to throw them under the bus, but I'm throwing them under the bus. And so I grab like a Fender Strat, like a Squire. So I was looking for only like $129. I didn't want to spend a ton of money because I knew Guitar Center was a little bit overpriced, but I didn't realize how overpriced they were. Actually, before I even looked at the new stuff, I went straight to the used gear because I'm like, used gear is going to be cheaper. And it was cheaper, but it was still ridiculously expensive, and it wasn't even good. I didn't see a single Fender in the entire used section. The used section was pretty small too. It was just like one wall. And I'm like, well, this is disappointing. There was one guitar I looked at, and it was like an okay guitar, but it was still like $150. I'm like, why would I spend this? Who in their right mind would buy this? So then I go to the new section. I see a couple Fenders, and they have like a couple that are under $200. Then everything else is like $600. I'm like, what? What is this? Who buys this? And so I grabbed the Fender Squier, which is $129, and I plug it into an amp. The Guitar Center employees are still like rocking out, but then they realize that I'm like plugging it in, and they're like, "What's up, man? You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And I play it, and I was just like, what is this? It's an okay $129. I plugged it into a Fender Mustang guitar amp, which is like a pretty good amp. Has a ton of different effects built in. But I didn't like it. Like, the Fender Mustang was an okay amp, but the Squier was kind of trash. It wasn't good. It wasn't lacquered at the back, so it felt like I was holding like a baseball bat. Like an ash baseball bat. And then I got another Fender. I can't remember what it was. It was a little bit more expensive, and it felt like it just felt garbage. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel better than this guitar, and the sound didn't sound any better than what I do plugging it straight into Logic. So some of you guys might be like, you might not have any idea what I'm talking about because you don't play instruments, which is fine. But what I like, the way that this is pertinent for anyone is, I always feel like I need to spend money to make stuff better, and I was willing to spend decent amount of money for a new guitar, a new amp, new pedals. Like, in total, that's probably running like $400 to $500, and I was willing to do it. But then as soon as I got it, I realized, you know what, this actually doesn't make a huge difference. Like, if you gave John Mayer the setup that I have now, he could build a great song, and it could be just as successful as all these other songs. The gear doesn't actually matter. And I hate places like Guitar Center and Dick's Sporting Goods, I don't know where people go to buy computer stuff, but these places make it seem like you have to get the top of the line item, which I understand because they're a business, so they want to sell the top of the line stuff. But you honestly don't need to like spend that much to get the equipment that is necessary. Like, people will spend $200 plus on soccer boots. We call it football boots. We call them soccer cleats, whatever. It's the same thing, the shoes. People will spend like 200 plus bucks because they're like, it'll make all the difference. And I'm like, oh, wait, does it really matter? It's not going to be a huge difference. That is not going to be the separating factor between someone making a professional league in football as opposed to playing Sunday league. It's not like it's the boots. If the boots were really that much of a difference, then I'd be like, okay, it makes sense to spend that much. This also makes me think of why I'm like, I always mention how I hate FIFA. I don't actually hate FIFA, but there's some aspects of it that really frustrate me. So I've just mentioned how like the boots aren't a separating factor in football. The guitar doesn't really matter. Like, it's depreciating. Like, the line of importance goes like that as the price goes up. Depreciating value as price goes up, or whatever. I took economics. I came at decreasing marginal returns, decreasing that old thing, you know. And the derivatives. But in FIFA, this is not true, because the team does matter. You can be the best player in the world, and you can have just a bunch of gold players, like standard gold players, and you could come up against me, not the best player in the world, and I could have every single good player. Like, if you gave me the best player at every position on 100 chem, I would dominate that person who's the best player in the world with a worse team. Not because I'm better, but because I spent more money. And that's just so dumb. That makes no sense to have a competitive game that's like that. And people might say, well, in real football, Manchester City spent millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, and look, it made them Premier League champions. And I would say, yeah, that's true. They did spend money, and it helped make them really good. PSG spent a ton of money, made them really good. But it didn't make them automatically, like, really good. They still had to know what they were doing. They still had to have those players mesh together. And it's not like those players just dominated everyone. Manchester City lost to Liverpool twice. 3 times. What? Yeah, 3 times. They didn't win Champions League. PSG didn't even make it to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and they spent $500 million on 2 players. So, like, if you spent the amount that PSG spent in terms of FIFA coins, you would have just every single icon, every top tier player, and you would roll through the weekend league. You might not get 40-0, but you'd probably get 35-0 as long as you know what you're doing. If you're just some rando who just like is given this, you played FIFA once in your life, you're not going to do it. But to the average person, that is the make or break difference. Just having money and buying a really good team, which I don't understand. In Fortnite, which is, I like Fortnite, but I don't love Fortnite. I should probably uninstall Fortnite because I play it too much. But in Fortnite, it's not pay to win because paying money does not give you any advantage whatsoever. Whereas in FIFA, it literally gives you I keep saying literally. Why am I a white girl? It literally gives you every advantage in the world. That was my random rant about EA. What? Guitar Center? Oh yeah, guys, don't go to Guitar Center. That was just random too. This is the Rando podcast. All right, what are we? 16 minutes in, 15 minutes in. Let's read some comments. Daniel Quizada says, "I've never smiled more than the few minutes you talked about my comment. You said my name, happiness level through the roof. You say you like Pulisic, bam, past that, Dortmund fan, boom, I exploded. Love your podcast. Totally agree with you, by the way. Just listening to an interesting and funny person talk for like an hour and anything and everything. I'll be here every episode, and I'm looking forward to more great stories, reactions, thoughts, opinions, answers, comment, jokes. Thank you for doing YouTube." Thanks, Daniel. That means a lot. I really appreciate that, man. Then Adam Davey said, "What do you think?" Well, he asked Daniel, but I'll answer it. "What did Dortmund fans think of Yarmolenko? How do you do this season?" Daniel said he was a bit of disappointment, and I agree. To be honest, I didn't get to see as much Dortmund as I'd like to, just because you don't get every single channel, you don't get every single game like you do in the Premier League, and I tend to watch Premier League over Bundesliga, I don't know why, I just do. But Yarmolenko, I think he had an okay start to the season, but he got injured, and the injury kind of set him back, and he was never really consistent enough. He was never Dembele. I thought Dembele was the best player in the squad in 2017. The most important thing about Dembele was the decisive passes he would make to Aubameyang, because Dembele what do you call it when someone has 5-star weak foot? In not FIFA terms, like ambidextrous is when you can use either hand. Ambidextrous? Well, he's left-footed, right-footed. And that means a lot when it comes to passing, because he would always, I remember at the very beginning of his campaign with Dortmund, I immediately saw that he was going to be really good. And it was because he would drop back further. He would pick up the ball, his head would get up immediately, and he would just be looking for a run from Aubameyang. And Aubameyang, because he's so fast, would just make these darting runs through the middle. The center backs, right backs, whoever's marking Aubameyang has to stick with him, because he's good enough in terms of timing that if you don't stick with him, he's going to just get past you. He's going to stay on side. He's going to be one-on-one with the goalie. And his finishing has improved enough that it's game over there. But Dembele would always pick his head up. He'd have a ton of space, and he's such a skilled dribbler that if you don't pick him up, he's going to just go into that space. If someone does step up to try to close him down, he'll just slip a through ball in, get in Aubameyang, and that's why he was so effective. That's why I really like Dembele. But yeah, Yarmolenko was not as good as Dembele, but I don't think you can be as good as Dembele was, because he was player of the season for me, 2017, and I hated that they had to get rid of him after just 1 year. Yarmolenko could be good, but he's not the same kind of player. He doesn't have left foot, right foot, ambidextrousness, whatever it's called. What is that called? I'm going to look this up. What is it called when you can use either foot? What is it? Two-footed. That is not... Okay, fine. He's a two-footed player. Whatever. Yarmolenko is not a two-footed player, but he does have 5-star skills in FIFA. Joseph Nil says, love it, but definitely want to see it. So that's not a question, but still appreciate Joseph. I see him every podcast, so thanks, buddy. Notorious says, hi, I have some questions for you. How was college helped your life? Any advice to college freshmen? How bad were Egypt in the World Cup? What kept you doing YouTube when you got little to no views in the videos at the beginning? Can you show us your World Cup bracket? Have you gone to Rhode Island before? Like that football video? So a lot of questions, but I do appreciate it because it means I actually have stuff to talk about instead of me rambling about Guitar Center. First, I'll talk about Egypt just because that was that I was just talking about football, and this is not necessarily a football podcast, but I do talk about it every episode. I don't think. Well, to be honest, I didn't get to watch Egypt play because I was always at work, but I would listen to the games. And it seemed like they were just way too Mo Salah dependent. And the first game they were a little bit unlucky because that was against Uruguay. That was against Uruguay. They lost in the last minutes to a Jimenez header off a corner. And Uruguay has shown how good they can be. And they're solid defensively. So I think Egypt did pretty well in that. Then they lost to Russia, right? Yeah, they lost to Russia. Russia's shown how good they can be, too. I mean, Russia, Uruguay, both into the quarterfinals. Group A was looking like a cakewalk. But it could have 2 semifinalists. You could have 2 finalists, maybe. You could have 2 teams from that one group going pretty far. So they didn't play very well against Russia, I don't think. But they were just way too Mo Salah dependent. Then the third game, it's kind of like you can complain about how they didn't perform well, but Saudi Arabia got 2 goals in like the last minutes of both halves. So it's kind of just lack of concentration, Mo Salah dependency, and Egypt honestly don't have too many skilled players. They should probably be beating Saudi Arabia, but I don't know. When you just have one player and everyone's like, get the ball to him and just stand and watch him do stuff. That's not how it works in football. Look at Argentina, look at Egypt. Now, these other questions I think are really interesting. How has college helped your life, or how helped you for life? Any advice to a college freshman? I would say college got me a job. Because if I didn't go to college, I wouldn't have had that job. So it helped me there. I think my writing improved in college. I actually got a C+ in English 101, or it was called 105, like the very beginner in English class. And that oh my gosh, I was so livid because I've always considered myself to be a pretty good writer. And my first, you just had 3 papers, I think. Yeah, 3 papers for that class, and that's what it was based off of. And I worked really hard on those papers. I remember the first one was the first exam or paper, anything I'd ever written for college. So I didn't really know what to expect. And I kind of just gave my high school effort, which wasn't good enough, to be honest. But I gave it as just a feeler to see what I could get away with, how much I actually had to put in to get good grades in college. And I got a C+ on it. And I was like, what, shoot, a C+. That means I actually have to really try. Because on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being gave 100%, 0 being just like wrote it the night before, I would say I gave it like a 6 or 7. So that it wasn't like I just threw in the towel. But C+, I was a little bit shocked. So then second paper came around and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna ace this. So I probably gave it a 9.5 in terms of effort. And I read it and I reread it and I gave it to my sister to read, and she's a really good writer as well. And I had other people read it. I'm like, this is a solid A paper. And then I got it back and I got a C+, like the exact same thing. And I was just kind of like, what the heck? What is going on? And for that paper, I'd even gone to the professor and I had him read it. And then he kind of just looked at it and he's like, well, there are a couple things to change. And he didn't get through the whole thing. The professor was kind of young, and I was just like, this guy's 23 years old and he's judging if I can write. I mean, I don't know. I didn't like the guy, and then so I got a C plus on that. So the final paper comes around, and I'm like, I'm not failing English 101. This is not happening. So on the final paper, I gave, on a scale of 1 to 10, like a 12. I read it. I wrote it. I wrote a pre-draft. I finished it. I edited it. I read it. I reread it. I edited it again. I took it home. I had my parents read it. I had my sister read it. I had the professor read it. I rewrote it again, and I got a C plus. Like the exact same grade every single time, like a 67. There were some other grades in there, so I got a C plus because a 67 I don't think that's like a D, and I got a C plus. And I was reading his comments on them on all the papers, and I legitimately don't think he read them. I do not think he read the papers, because his criticism just didn't make any sense. So what is the lesson in there? Just you have to try really hard, and then sometimes it doesn't work out for you. That is so sad. But it did make me a better writer, because the first paper honestly probably wasn't that great. The third paper was good. I don't know what he was smoking. But it helped me realize that you have to cater to certain people, because I was writing mainly for myself. Even though the audience in that situation would have just been the professor. So in future writing endeavors for college, I would just go to the professor and have them read it and then be like, do you like it? And then they would always say, no, I think you can make some changes here. Because people just want to read what they want to read, you know? That's really annoying about creating pieces of... creating anything literary. The audience will be so judgmental if they don't actually like it. And they're not going to look at it from the perspective of, well, he was thinking this at the time, which I can understand. They're going to be thinking, well, I think this, and if it doesn't match my agenda, I'm not going to like it. That's what I've found a lot of professors when they're younger, at least. Like I had a TA for another class. I legitimately just went to her and had her read it, and then she told me what to fix, and then I wrote it how she wanted to read it, and I got an A, which is really stupid, but I mean, it's a game. You have to play the game of school or college to get good grades. Kind of like if you have a YouTube audience, you can't just put out what you like sometimes. You have to put out what they would like. Otherwise, you're not catering to the correct people. Any advice to a college freshman? I would say enjoy college, because I don't think I did enough college stuff. I didn't live the college life. And it's kind of because I was so focused on YouTube, which is that's like a really sad sentence, to be honest. Because most Friday nights, you know, college people will go out, party, have a good time. There's nothing wrong with that when you're young. I didn't do that because I would stay in and try to make YouTube videos. And it was because I enjoyed FIFA at that time, and I enjoyed making the videos. I still enjoy making videos, but like videos were the top thing. That's what I always look forward to. It's what I built my schedule around. As soon as I would come home from class, I'd be making a video. I'd be editing the video. And I think it's good because I think people enjoyed them, and I get a lot of satisfaction from that. But at the same time, I wasn't selfish enough, I'd say. So I didn't live my college life, and I didn't get a full college experience because I was so focused on just doing YouTube videos. So I would say live your life. I know Notorious is you're trying to become a YouTuber, which is great, and you should, if that's something you really like, you should definitely keep doing that, and you'll see great progression. It might be something down the road that could become a full-time job or a great hobby for you. So I would say continue to do that. I know you might not be getting a lot of views at this moment, but it could you have to really enjoy making videos, and you have to not be so concerned with getting views, just creating content you like. Because there's no guarantee that you're going to get an audience at all. So you just have to enjoy it. Can you show us your World Cup bracket? I didn't actually I don't like brackets. I used to always create a March Madness bracket. I don't know if you guys all know what that is, but college basketball tournament, and people like to pick upsets, basically like a World Cup bracket. And I still do them, but I used to like really look forward to them and try to match up the teams and like put a lot of effort into it. And I mean, there's a reason why Warren Buffett would give $1 billion to anyone who picked it correctly, because no one's ever going to pick it correctly. It's just like it's almost mathematically impossible. The probability is so low. So I got to the point where I stopped actually cheering for teams, and I would just hope for good games, like games to watch that were fun. Because I would notice that I would be cheering for a team just to see if the bracket would be correct, when it's always fun to cheer for the underdog. Because in basketball, I think is different than football, soccer. Because basketball, most teams don't play a boring style. Like people were cheering for Iceland because Iceland's such a small nation and they like an underdog story. But I wasn't cheering for Iceland because I thought their play style is so boring of just parking the bus, being like Jose Mourinho 10.0. In college basketball, it's not really like that because you can't park the bus. I mean, you could play defensively and be like a Princeton-style offense and be really slow, but no one does that anymore. So let's kind of just ignore that. It's not going to happen. So most teams will give you an exciting game, and I always think it's more exciting to see an underdog as opposed to just a bunch of really good players. Like Villanova just had a bunch of NBA-level talent players. So cheering for them is just like cheering for an NBA team in college, and it's not fun. Have you gone to Rhode Island before? I think I've gone through it because I've gone to New England before, but I've never stopped. It's just such a small state. Thank you for the questions, Notorious. I appreciate it. Guys, I'm actually really struggling. I can like barely breathe. I'll try to get through these last questions, but I didn't realize how sick I'm getting. It's really annoying. Guy Reed says, I like Broturn. He may not know much about football, but it sounds like he's trying to express an interest in something he knows you enjoy to be nice. I set you a challenge to get him I set you a challenge to get him to educate you about something he's passionate about before the next video. I like Broturn. Broturn's funny. I just like to make fun of him because he's pretty bro-y. If you know what a bro is, it's kind of like in English slang you would say a lad. He's like he likes to drink alcohol. He likes to go out and search for chicks. But he was telling me, because as I mentioned earlier, I was looking for a guitar. And I was actually looking for a guitar amp mainly. And I had heard that he was like into music or something. So I just randomly say to him, hey, do you play guitar? And he goes, oh no, I hate anything that is guitar-y. Like, he hates music that's guitar-y. Like John Mayer, like Ed Sheeran, Aerosmith, The Doors, Mumford & Sons. And he's just like naming anything and everything that has to do with guitars. And I still like this guy. I think he's funny. He could educate me on beer, I guess. I don't actually drink beer, but he seems to know a lot about alcohol. We were listening to A$AP Rocky together in the car when we were coming back from lunch. Because I listened to A$AP Rocky's first album, but then he apparently has a new album that recently came out. And according to the Broturn, it's not good. I listened to it, and it's kind of repetitive. It wasn't my favorite. So he could educate me about music, because he likes electronic dance music, EDM, and hip-hop. I'd listen to a little bit of hip-hop, but not that much. I don't really listen to any EDM. Daniel Turner says, #HelpMeDad. What the hell? VAR is killing the World Cup. You've got to get the Broturn on. Do a live stream with him. Come on, England. I don't actually think I like VAR. I don't know why people hate VAR. I think sometimes it gets a little bit too slow, and sometimes you'll have something that I think you should be able to review, and I don't really understand why you can't review it. But for the most part, I think VAR has done a really good job, and it hasn't caused any controversy. It pretty much takes the controversy out, which from a dramatic standpoint could be actually a negative, because sometimes the drama of missed calls is interesting to watch. But I think in the spirit of the game, getting things correct, I actually like Vieira. I'm a big fan. As far as getting Bro Turn on, that would be funny. The Bro Turn, I don't know if he would do a podcast. I don't really know. If I got the Bro Turn on a podcast, would he be angry? Would the Bro Turn like the fact that I talk about the Bro Turn and make fun of him for not knowing about football? I don't think so. He probably makes fun of me for stuff. It's just a little bit of banter. It's fine. Come on, England. I know I said this isn't a soccer podcast, football podcast, but I'm still going to talk about football. I actually think England have a really good shot of making it pretty deep into this World Cup. But I'm going to say they lose to Colombia tomorrow. I just think they're going to lose to Colombia on penalties. Like, it's going to be 1-1. I'm going to say Harry Kane scores a goal in the 32nd minute. Then I'm going to go with a Luis Muriel equalizer in the 57th minute. Then England try to push Argentina. James Rodriguez is injured. Falcao. Actually, I'm not going to say Luis Muriel. I'm going to say Radamel Falcao in 57th minute. Colombia have a couple counterattack chances, but mainly it's England trying to push 3 at the back. They're bombarding from all angles. Goes to 120th minute. They lose on penalty shootout, and the papers go wild. Because if England get past Colombia, it's then Switzerland or Sweden, which I think England could beat either one of those. Sweden would actually be, in my opinion, a more difficult opponent because they would park the bus more, and England don't do well against park the bus opponents like Iceland. Switzerland would come out and play a little bit more, and they're not as solid defensively, so I think England would actually beat Switzerland. And then after that, like, it's Croatia plays Russia. I think Croatia. So you're looking pretty far ahead, but the hardest team that England has to worry about really is Croatia, and they didn't look that great. Or Colombia, and James Rodriguez is injured. So England could actually go really far. I'm actually cheering for them, and I'm hoping they do really well, because I would love to see English people really happy about their team not being trash, because their team's good. They have a lot of talent. Jesse Lingard is really good. People always, like, he had one of the better seasons in the Premier League. He was constantly scoring bangers. And you can see what he does. He's really quick, he's really fast, and he's got a great right foot. Guys, I'm struggling. I'm going to have to end it a little bit early. I'm sorry. I usually go on, and I like doing these podcasts because it helps me think, but I'm just, like, on the brink of death at the moment, and I need to go get a bunch of spicy curry in my body. That sounded a little bit strange. My voice is cracking. I hope you guys liked that new kind of video I did yesterday, where I did a FIFA player review, but I also did a Rice Gum review at the same time. I thought that was pretty funny, and I was a little bit worried because people don't always like when I do reviews. Or reaction videos. I don't really get why, but it's funny because I had to wean people onto the reaction videos. Like, people will come for the video if it says FIFA, but then if it actually isn't entirely FIFA, they'll still stay because they like it. It's just funny how that works out. But yeah, hope you guys did enjoy it. Thanks for joining. I'm sorry that I'm sick. I need to get fluids. See you boys later. Don't forget spare pets.